Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R and J. I am Steve Risser along with Justin D'Onofrio. And welcome back, James Bouknight, as UConn last night beat Providence 73-61. James Bouknight had 18 points. Tyrese Martin also had 18. And R.J. Cole had 13. UConn did a really good job on Providence's scores. They held David Duke to 3 of 16 shooting, 3 of 16 from the field, only held him to 11 points. They held Watson to 6. They held A.J. Reeves to 9 points, so they did a really good job defensively. I thought this was their best all-around game of the year. Beginning of the game, it was a little bit even at the beginning, but the UConn started to pull away at the end of the first half. Start of the second half, they started to pull away too. Really controlled this game. We're up pretty much by 15 to 17 points for the majority of the second half. Obviously, Providence went on a little bit of a run late there at the end, but the score was not indicative of how the game was played. Great game by UConn, a team that last night really, really proved why they should be, especially with James Bouknight, why they should be an NCAA tournament team.
Oh, no doubt. What a difference 6 days makes when they played Providence, last Wednesday. They could do nothing offensively. You bring back James Bouknight, who's great, and he just opens up the whole offense. And you could just see it takes a weight off of everybody else's shoulders when he's on the floor. And you could see that last night. Martin had 16 of his 18 in the first half. He was great, kind of being his sidekick last night. Josh Carlton gave you some solid minutes as well. But yeah, that was a really, really solid performance. To hold Nate Watson, David Duke to 17 points combined, and they both averaged 17, a game. That's impressive. And I really like the way their defense played last night. If their defense could play like that night in and night out, they're going to be fine, because now with James Bouknight, they're going to be able to score 70 plus every night. They can hold teams to the 60s, low 70s. They're going to be able to win a lot of ball games. You can just see it's a totally different team on the floor, and it's great to see him back out there.
Oh, absolutely. And you saw, he couldn't be stopped going to the basket. A little bit concerned that he really couldn't shoot a lot. He didn't shoot. He only attempted, I think, 1-3 last night, but he was unstoppable getting to the basket. Providence could not stop Bouknight getting to the hoop. He was outstanding getting to the basket. And also they got contributions. Tyrese Martin was on last night. R.J. Cole was on last night too. And Tyler Polley played well off the bench. The rest of the team didn't score that much, but Whaley was pretty good defensively as well. So, just an all-around really, really good performance by this team. In a game they needed to win. Joe Lunardi had them one of the first 4 out in his bracketology. Had them one of the first 4 out. So this was a game that UConn needed to win. They're ready to play, and this was just a really, really good win for this team last night.
It totally was. To get the payback game, get a big spot at home, with Nova looming this weekend. Yeah, it was a really nice win for them. And they got contributions. Cole's been good the last few games. I even like Carlton at 7.7 rebounds off.
It was a good night when Josh Carlton played well. It's a good night when he plays well.
Yeah, it is. They have success when he plays well. Martin playing well. Jackson wasn't great last night, but with his athleticism and all, what he brings, he doesn't need to, have to have double digits every night. But, again, I think he'll play better this weekend. So, yeah, just an all-around great performance. You can kind of just see it was a 1-year anniversary, too, when Akuga Cook tore his Achilles. So they wanted to get that win for him as well. And, they did it and they played well.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy you brought up Andre Jackson, his defense. His defense was really, really – him and Tyrese Martin, his defense was really good on David Duke last night. David Duke scored 11 points, but they really shut him down from the field, 3 of 16 from the field. It just seemed like he was off all night. And the same thing with what they did with Nate Watson. They completely contained him too. In the first meeting down in Providence, they both had 17 points. Last night, it was a completely different story. Watson was held to 6 points, and David Duke did not shoot the ball well at all. So really, really good job, containing those two guys. And I just like the way this team is right now. I really like the way they're starting to play together. As we saw at the end of last year with Bouknight, this team really started to come together. Yes, and in the beginning of the year we saw it this year, but then when Bouknight left, they struggled. But now I think this team is really, really starting to come together. And Bouknight did get hurt a little bit last night, but he's okay, right?
Yeah, just a cramp. So
Okay,
he
just a
should
cramp.
be
Okay, it should be fine. But
yeah.
it's going to be exciting, going into this weekend playing a team like Villanova. So I'm really excited. And we get a comment from Sean. He says Andre Jackson's been getting better every game. Off the injuries, 100% right about that.
Yeah.
The defense that he played last night was outstanding for this team. Outstanding.
Yeah, and he was hurt during the summer too, so he missed most of the summer workouts, and then he got hurt again. So yeah, it's kind of been a tough year for Jackson, but yeah, it finally looks like he's getting into a groove, and he's been playing really, really well last few games coming back.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like, here's the thing about this team. The key to this team is, I think right now they're a top 3 team with James Bouknight. To me, they're a top 3 team in the Big East. I mean, because of the game that they lost, the one game they lost with Bouknight to Creighton, that went to overtime, double overtime, and Bouknight had 40 points. So I think this is a top 3 team. And I know the Big East is not. I mean, they're not. It's not the Big 12, it's not the Big 10, but this year. But I think this is definitely a top 3 team in the Big East with James Bouknight and if RJ Cole's on and if Tyrese Martin's on, because those are the 3 best players, and if they get contributions from Tyler probably come off the bench, if Willie's defense could play a factor, if Andre Jackson's defense could play a factor, this team could win the Big East and they can make some noise in March.
Oh yeah, definitely. The way they're playing, the Big East, it's a pretty young conference right now. A lot of teams got some young talent. But yeah, they were picked 4. Providence just picked 3rd. I think just because of Duke and Watson. I think.
Why were they picked 3rd? That's a bad pick to pick them 3rd in the conference. That's way too high for that team, in my opinion. Really, outside of Watson and Duke and Reeves, that team's not good at all. It's not that good. I mean, I don't think they're a bad team, but they're not that good.
No, they're mediocre in this conference. I like Alden Breed, that freshman, but that's about it.
Yeah, he had 4. I think he had 14 points last night. I saw.
Yeah, he played well, but the rest of the team with the other 3 guys you mentioned, yeah, there's not much. I think they just saw Duke and Watson was going to carry the team this year. They have, but again, you play a team like UConn, they're going to struggle at full strength. But I do think UConn can be very dangerous in March. If they're sitting there as a 10 seed or a 9 even, you probably want to avoid the 8-9 game. But they really could with the way they can score. And Bouknight, I feel like we haven't seen him in March yet, but he's the type of guy that can go get you a bucket whenever you need one. And that's how you win in March. And he's that guy. And I also think, Cole could take off pressures on him some nights. Martin, we kind of saw last night, was able to do that. Again, I hope Sinago, I think, to be able to do that as well. I like when they feed him down low. So yeah, I do think this team is going to be very dangerous. The way they play defense, they don't need to play shootouts now with James Bouknight back. As long as they keep teams in the 60s and 70s, or low 70s, they should be fine.
Yeah, because with Bouknight, this team's going to score at least 65 points because Bouknight's going to score when he's there. He's scoring at least 15 to 20 points every game. So you're getting that from Bouknight. So you're getting probably like 65 points a game when he's out there. So I think, yeah, you don't need to go get into shootouts. You just need to play good defense. And I think they'll score enough points. And I don't see this team. I mean, I know they're on the bubble right now. They're not, there's 4 teams. I think 3 teams that are in the tournament from the Big East. I think it's obviously Creighton and Villanova, but I think Xavier's the other team, and they're falling apart now too. Seton Hall beat UConn too, so they're in the tournament as well. So we got 4 teams. But I think UConn right now is as good or better than, I'd even say, any of those 4 teams.
Yeah, you could. I know you were going back and forth in the Nova game. They didn't look great Saturday. They're a beatable team. You mentioned it earlier. They should have beat Creighton at home the first time. They hung with them on the road, for a while. They kind of lost it late, but they hung on with Creighton. I think they could beat Seton Hall again, which I think they do play. They do play coming up March 3rd.
Yeah, March, that Wednesday night down there. Yep.
Yeah. So again, yeah, I do think they could beat anybody in this conference right now. They got one of the best players in the conference, James Bouknight. And I think they have one of the best. I know their 3-point defense right now is the best in the Big East. That's how you have to beat Nova. You got to chase them off the 3-point line. But yeah, they could make a run at the Garden and win this thing. It would not shock me. If they play together and everybody stays healthy, they definitely can make a run in March.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Nova game, let's move on to that one. Big game, obviously, on a Saturday. You got UConn going to Villanova. Nova top 10 team, with Colin Gillespie, James Earl Robinson. You got Samuels, Moore. This is a good team, very well coached team. But in my opinion, I saw them play on Saturday. This is a winnable game for UConn, especially with James Bouknight back. But what they're going to need, though, is James Bouknight to hit some threes. They can't live with him because Nova's going to stop him getting to the basket. He's not going to get to the basket as quick as he did against Providence. It's not going to be that way against Nova. He's not going to be able to get to the basket the way he did against Providence in this game. So he's going to have to hit some threes for UConn to win this game. And UConn's going to have to contain Gillespie, and they're going to have to contain Earl Robinson. So who scares you more on that in this Nova team? Is it Earl Robinson or is it Gillespie?
I'd say it's probably more of Robinson Earl
Robinson Earl, yeah.
Robinson Earl, yeah. I think it's him because the way he can score and rebound, I think it's a tough matchup. I think for him. I think if Willie could play solid defense, I think he could slow him down a bit. But I think he's kind of the one. If he plays well, Nova usually wins. If he's not really on his game, Nova usually loses. Like Saturday, he only 8.7 rebounds. But in the wins, he had 27 and 8 last week against Marquette in a win. So if he's going, Nova's offense is really, really hard to stop. But I think Willie could slow him down, but they're going to need him. They're going to need him to because he can do it all over. He can score from all over the place.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's going to be a tough game. Going to be a really good test for this team. But I mean, yeah, because we saw last year when they played them, and I thought Nova was I thought last year they might have been a little bit better. I don't know if they were better, but they were close to as good as they were this year. I mean, that was a tough game. They played them tough last year on the road.
Yeah, they did. It was they game. That was kind of one of the first games where we saw them just end up blowing a few that streak that they had in January, early February, where they just could not finish games. Yeah, and different team now. Yeah, they should have won that game. This Nova team, this whole roster is back from last year. It's a veteran team. They were coming off the shutdown a few weeks ago, but the thing about this team is they don't have a ton of NBA talent. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is going to be an NBA guy, but the rest of them, they're just all really good college basketball players.
That's the thing, and I think James Bouknight is the best player on the floor. I think he's better than Robinson Earl. I think he's better than him. I think he's the best player on the floor. I think that's the advantage UConn has.
Yeah, it totally could be. I'd probably take Bouknight over him as well. And if Bouknight can hit some shots, definitely, they definitely really could win. It's tough to go into Nova and win, but if James Bouknight is on and if he gets some help from other guys, I definitely could see UConn taking him out and winning this game. The big thing is, with Nova, it's chasing them out the three-point line. They run that NBA style offense. They're going to try to, the isolation, one-on-one stuff. But look, because UConn's been pretty good closing out on three-point shooters. If they can do that, if they can make Nova take a lot of contested shots, they definitely could win this game. Because Villanova's defense, I think, is ranked 90th in defense efficiency. And I think that may be even a little high for them. They're not anything special defensively, so I think they can be able to score some points. Because the thing is, they don't have a paint guy. They don't really have a shot blocker.
That's what I noticed about Nova and Creighton is they really don't really have anybody good inside. They really don't really have much size. They really rely on how they shoot the three.
Yeah, and again, I know in this day and age, a lot of teams love the win and die by the 3-point shot. I'm not all for that, but
especially in college basketball when you're not as good shooting the three. I feel like you still need to have a pretty good inside game in college basketball.
No, you definitely do, because they don't have that Omar Spillman from that national championship team or the Daniel Chouet. They don't have that shot blocker inside. So, as we talked, James Bouknight, if he can somehow get to the lane, there's nobody that's going to stop him. They don't have that shot blocker. They don't have that interior guy. That could be one thing I worry about for UConn is we've seen St. John's kind of expose them on the drive when they had to play small. If having a Cook may be nice, but again, I think he's hurting too. It sounds like right now again.
We got a comment from Sean. He says Whaley and Sinago could take over inside against Nova. That's a really good point, and they are going to need to. I think that's the two advantages for UConn in this game. James Bouknight, best player on the floor, and the advantage that UConn has inside. Those are two huge advantages UConn has going into this game.
No, they definitely do. It'll be interesting how we play because the St. John's game, which is kind of very similar, I feel like, with the style that Nova's gonna play. The small ball with. It's a tough matchup for Sonago with his defense. He's gonna have to play out in the perimeter. I hope because if he gets the ball and he touches inside, there's nobody that's gonna be able to stop him. And Whaley, I think could have a big day inside too. So if they can get in the paint and be able to finish their shots, I think they should be fine. Attack the offensive glass, and I think they definitely could come away with this game. I expect UConn to hang with them toe to toe. Me
too. My prediction though is that Nova wins close. I think they win it. They win it really, really close. I think it's like maybe I'd say it's a 1-possession game, maybe a 2 or 3 point game, but I think it's gonna be really close. What's your prediction?
I do have Nova winning a tight, close one. It's gonna be close, definitely a close one. Hopefully, Nova's gonna slow you down. That worries me too a bit. They got to speed up Nova. Nova, for all the threes they take, they're not up tempo. They're gonna slow it down and they're gonna run their offense and usually hit shots. But if they could speed them up, they can't turn the ball over because Nova is first in the country in turnovers per game. They only average like 9 a game. They take care of the ball, and at times UConn doesn't. They got to take care of the ball and cannot give Nova easy shots.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we wrap up talking about UConn, the big question I have is, should the committee look at UConn differently now that they have James Bouknight? Should they look at their record with James Bouknight and look at their record without James Bouknight? Should the committee look at them differently in terms of making the NCAA tournament?
I think you have to. I think, obviously you cannot take the losses out when James Bouknight's there. Obviously, those count and everything. But I think the committee is going to view them differently with the healthy James Bouknight. Because you could just see the confidence out there with everybody. You can just see how he elevates everybody else around him, I feel like. And, when you have to keep a close eye on him when he's on the floor, they have guys that can make plays, as we've mentioned. Martin, Cole, Sonago. Again, it kind of opens up some stuff for Poly if he can knock down his shot. So, I think the committee does have to view him a lot differently because even the style of play we've seen, they cannot run a half-court offense. It take 25 seconds. They have to play up tempo, which they do with James Bouknight on the floor. So, I think the committee will view them differently with a healthy Bouknight than when he was out.
And in my opinion, I think looking at their upcoming schedule, they got Villanova on the road. That's going to be a tough one. But they got 2 games they should win next week. They got, at Georgetown and then Marquette at home. And then to wrap it up, they got Seton Hall and then Georgetown again. So really, I think it's 5 or 6 games. Let me count. I think out of the 5 games left, 2 of them are tough. Obviously, going to be at Seton Hall and at Villanova, and then 3 of them are winnable games. The 2 Georgetown games and Marquette. So they really should finish this season. At worst, they really should finish the year 13-7. You hope they end up finishing 14-6.
Yeah, definitely. I could see them going 4-1, 3-2. Georgetown's getting better. The town's starting. They're starting to play better. So that's not going to be a walk in the park like I think a lot of us may have thought at the beginning of the year. But I think, though, they should win those. They should get Marquette. It should not be like a close, they should not fall behind by 18. But, they can beat Seton Hall on the road with the Bouknight. They can even beat Nova. So, I think 4-1 are probably the most realistic. 4-1, 3-2, I feel like probably the best odds. It's going to be tough to go 5-0. Would it shock me? No, but, I'd say 4-1 and, I think that would look pretty good with Bouknight back.
What seed would you think they get if they go like 4-1 and beat Seton Hall? Probably, I would say at that point, probably the 3 or 4 seed. Do you think in the Big East tournament?
Big East tournament. Yeah, I'd probably say a 3
because
or 4.
They beat Xavier. Because they beat Xavier.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird because of the winning percentage and all.
Oh
that
yeah,
and all the weird numbers. Yeah, I'd probably think so they're 2 back of Seton Hall, or they're 2 back in the win column of Seton Hall. I think they could probably finish 3rd because then St. John's is 2 back of them. I'd say they probably finish 3rd. They go 4-1.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. They just got if they finish in the top 6, they got to bye regardless because there's would it be top? Would it be top?
It
would be top
6,
5.
11, top 5. Yeah, top 5.
So they just have to finish in the top 5. You got to bye because there's 11 teams in the Big East. So if they're because 6 through 11 play on Wednesday, and if they finish in the top 5, they would get a bye in the Big East tournament.
Yeah, which again, they really should be able to do. They should definitely be finished the top half, and maybe their first bye I think since 2014, I believe.
That's crazy to think of, yeah.
Which is crazy. So
yeah,
I think they pretty much, as long as they don't fall apart here at the end, they should have that bye for Thursday.
Absolutely. So on Sunday, Michigan and Ohio State play. They didn't play in football this year, but they have a big game in basketball. It's number 3 Michigan faces number 4 Ohio State. And the question I want to ask you, Justin, is between these two teams, who has the better chance of competing with Gonzaga and Baylor? Because those are the number 1 and 2 teams in the country.
I think it's Michigan. I think Michigan, because of their defense. Ohio State's defense is decent, but I really like the way Michigan plays defense. They're allowing teams like in the 50s. The field goal percentage, they're only allowing like less than 40%. With Hunter Dickerson down low, kind of commanding the paint down there, the shot blocker. I think, and Isaiah Livers, I think they can match Gonzaga's front court. Gonzaga, is deadly from the paint, but I could see Michigan being able to be the kind of team that could slow them down. And I do think they're right now the third best. They have a bunch of kind of young. They got some transfers. Mike Smith from Columbia, Chauncey Brown from Wake Forest. So they have a really nice mix of youth and veteran leadership, which again is a great mix of college basketball. So I think it is Michigan. I think it is Michigan, but Ohio State though is very deserving of that number 4 top, number 4 right now in the top 25. They are a really good, solid team, but I think Michigan defense is better, and Michigan can shoot the ball.
Yeah, and I'm happy you talked about Hunter Dickinson because I think he's going to be the difference in this game against Ohio State. I think the size of him is going to be the difference in a really, really close Michigan win. Who do you got in this rivalry game?
Yeah, I got Michigan as well because Hunter Dickinson 7'1", and the Kyle Young Ohio State center's it's undersized at 6'8". He usually holds his own, but I think this would be a really tough matchup. He when he gets the ball down there, he's not missing any shots, and he's shooting like over 50%. Not that he's an old school guy. He's taken 4 threes on the year, but he hasn't hit any. He's gonna play in the paint most of the time, which and he's gonna finish, and he's gonna be a tough matchup. And then you try to double him at times, and Mike Smith, Eli Brooks, Brad Wagner, they can all hit threes. So, I think Michigan is the better team. I think Michigan's be able to put up some points. Both teams can score, but I like Michigan's defense. I think they can get enough stops more than Ohio State can on Sunday.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think you're right about the difference is going to be Hunter Dickinson. I don't even think it might not even be scoring. It might be the fact that Ohio State might have to double him in the post, and it obviously opens up threes for Livers and open up threes for Wagner.
Yeah, you're right about that. They got so many scores, and they're great. They're great too at sharing the ball. They're very unselfish team as well, which works really well for them. So I think they're gonna have trouble in that area. Ohio State will.
We got big news out of Houston in the NFL, like that came up last week. But before that, we got a promo from Keys to the City.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast, Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floated to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, devil woman. But speaking of those Lakers, but I hold on, stun. But I didn't make I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.
Thank you, Ted and Trevor. Check out Keys to the City Friday afternoon. Ted, Trevor, and Joe. They'll be talking about the latest news in the NFL. But we had some news in the NFL on Friday, and that was J.J. Watt requesting his release out of Houston, which comes as no surprise. You've seen what's happening in Houston. That team is completely falling apart. They're going to eventually trade Deshaun Watson within the next month. I mean, and this was no surprise to get rid of J.J. Watt. The only problem with Houston is why don't you just try to see if you can get any value for him? I know he's not the same player, but you didn't even get any value for him. You just let him walk pretty much. So It just shows you how Houston is just – the Texans are just an incompetent organization. They're going to lose Deshaun. They're going to trade – they're going to have to end up trading Deshaun Watson in the next month too. So that team has completely fall apart. It all stemmed from that the DeAndre Hopkins trade last March when they were a Super Bowl contender. And now – right now, they're pretty much the worst team in football. Seeing that Watt's going to be released and seeing that they're going to be trading Deshaun Watson soon.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much 11 months. It was from today. They traded Hopkins. It's a totally different feeling in Houston right now. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I am surprised they didn't try to trade him. I'm like, I know it's a cap situation, all that. I know. It's going to be decreasing by, I think, like $30 million. I heard something like that. So, yeah, I'm surprised you don't even try to at least at the least get like a third day draft pick or something, like a 6 or 7, at least get like an extra pick. But, yeah, it's just totally dysfunctional right now in Houston. It's pretty sad to see a team that, a year ago you thought were Super Bowl contenders, and now they're starting from step one again, and it's going to be a long process for Houston fans.
Absolutely. Now that we know what's happening in Houston, we'll now shift more to J.J. Watt and talk about what teams fit him best. And I got 5 teams that I think fit him best. I wrote an article about this last week, but actually 4 of the 5 that I'm going to say now were in my article, but there is a new one that's not in my article. That wasn't in my article, and I took one team out. But the 5 teams that I think are the best fits, 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It'll be interesting to see him play with his brother, with T.J. Watt, who's probably the best defensive player in the league. And then obviously we know Derek Watt plays for them too. So it would be nice to see the 3 Watt brothers playing together. And Bud Dupree's a free agent, so they'll need another pass rusher. The problem is Pittsburgh is way they're way over the salary cap. And I know Watt's going to take less money, but I just don't think this is going to be done. I think a big thing what's going to have to happen is, yes, Marquise Pouncey did retire, but Big Ben is definitely going to have to restructure his contract for that to work.
It's like $41 million they owe him.
He's really going to have to restructure his contract for that to work. Another team, I think, the second team I thought was a really good fit for Watt is the Packers. I think a big reason for that is he's from Wisconsin. They're a championship contender. Their pass rush was pretty good with Zadarius Smith last year, but I think this would improve their pass rush, especially on the interior with him and Kenny Clark. You'd have Zadarius Smith. You'd probably, because they would be over the cap. They would be over the cap too. They probably would have to release Preston Smith to make that work. Another team I think is a good fit is the Bills. I think the 2 things that are keeping the Bills away from being the best team in the AFC, 1 is a running back, a good running game. And 2 is a pass rusher. If J.J. Watt could come there, yes, he's not the same player, but with him pairing with Jerry Hughes, and then you have a pretty good secondary with Tre'Davious White, and you have Jordan Poyer, and you have Micah Hyde, so you'd have a really good pass defense. Tremaine Edmonds had a good year at linebacker too, so I think he would definitely. I know he's not the same player, but I do think he would definitely improve the Bills' defense, and obviously they're a championship contender too, seeing that they got to the AFC Championship game. One fit would be a really good fit would be the Tennessee Titans. And this is what would make it so. This would be so stupid of Houston not to trade him, because if they trade him, they're not trading him to the Titans. But if the Titans could get him, that would be big. That would improve their defense, because they were 30th in the NFL last year in sacks with 19. They could not get off the field on third down at all. He would really improve that defense if he went there. And my last team, it was a team that's been talked about recently, and that's the Browns. I've heard there's been interest of J.J. Watt and the Cleveland Browns. He would add to a defensive line with Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, and Sheldon Richardson. He would add to that defensive front, and I think they would take over. They would have the best defensive front in the league if J.J. Watt went there. They would be a little bit better than Tampa Bay, in my opinion. So I really, really like that. Would like that fit too if he went to Cleveland. Cleveland would be loading up on Baker Mayfield's rookie contract, even though they're going to have to pay Baker Mayfield this offseason. So those are my 5 best fits for him: Steelers, Packers, Bills, Titans, and Browns. Justin, what are your 5 best fits for J.J. Watt?
Yeah, actually, so 4 of the 5 are the same as yours. I got Pitt number 1, teaming up with his brothers. Pitt, obviously, you mentioned the cap with the Steelers, but they can get around that and all that. Add him to that defense up front would definitely make this Pittsburgh defense again, really, really solid as well. The Packers, yeah, he's from the area. You know, he would love to go. Right, would love to go play for the Packers. You know, go help Rodgers try to go win another ring. I know, yeah, the cap space there is another cap situation there. They'd have to work out, but they add him for another defensive piece. A guy that's hungry to win. Packers are hungry to get another one. I think it would be a really good fit for him. Number 3 for me, I have the Titans as well. Yeah, they had absolute zero pass rush last year. The Jadeveon Clowney signing did not pan out as well. He knows, you know, he stays in the division, so he knows, he knows those teams. He knows the quarterbacks, so I think that could be a really, really good fit for J.J. Watt to go to Tennessee again. With if they can improve their defense, I know, Tennessee with Henry and all that. I think that with their offense not being like explosive offensively, but help out that defense could make Tennessee really just run away with that. I guess the Colts are there too still, but they could be big division favorites. Number 4, I have Cleveland as well. You get to go up against his brother's choice here, which I think he kind of get a kick out of. A team that's hungry to win in Cleveland. You add a guy like J.J. Watt that hasn't won yet either. I think would be a nice fit for him there as well. And definitely, I think if they add to that defensive line, they add J.J. Watt, that defensive line becomes really, really scary. And, in an already tough division, Cleveland, Cleveland could have really big success defensively. And then number 5, I actually have my New England Patriots. I think because Lawrence Guy's a free agent, Dietrich Wise is a free agent. They have the money, so they're losing 2 defensive ends. They don't, they have money.
You think they're going to pay Lawrence? You think they're going to pay Lawrence Guy though?
I'm not. I think they could, but I'm not. I haven't really seen a ton on him. I was trying to look, but I haven't really seen much on him. I know Tooney sounds like he's gone, and him and Andrew sound like they're not gonna. It sounds like they're not paying those 2. So realistically, you would think Lawrence Guy's gonna get some money, get money because they got to pay somebody. But you never know what Bill. But you add, Bill's gonna be hungry to win again this year to kind of prove it. Again, J.J. Watt's hungry to win. I think it could be a nice fit to bring him in on this defense. Hopefully, get guys that opted out back last year. So I would love to see him in New England.
Yeah, I mean, here's Sean's. I got a comment from Sean. I think Watt to the Browns would make them a legitimate contender. Oh, absolutely. It absolutely would. I mean, I think their defensive line would be really good. Their linebackers, B.J. Goodson had a pretty good year at linebacker for them last year. They obviously have Denzel Ward in the back end. And yeah, that would be. I mean, they would if they get J.J. Watt. They still are a top 5 to 10 roster in the NFL. But if they get J.J. Watt, they're definitely a top 5 roster. Obviously, the only concern with me is can Baker Mayfield continue to stay consistent? Can Baker Mayfield continue to play consistent? Because we saw year 1, Mayfield was pretty good. He was the runner-up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Year 2, he fell off. Year 3, he had a pretty good season. And I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's a great quarterback, but can he be a quarterback that's good enough to win a championship? And this year, he played close to that level. That was with Kevin Stefanski. He plays at the level where he's good enough. He's not Josh Allen, but he's good enough to win it, to compete for a Super Bowl with. And if he continues to play the way he did this year, I think the Browns definitely could be contenders.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think they kind of figured out. Stefanski figured out how to use Baker Mayfield, and how figured out his pros and kind of figured out what type of quarterback he is. I think it really benefited Baker. So yeah, and you add that defense. It's not like they're gonna have to win a ton of shootouts. Maybe against Kansas City, but it's not like they're gonna need Baker to put up 35 points every week. So yeah, you add him. Long as their offense does enough, they should be able to win a lot of games. I definitely, that Browns would definitely be right there in the AFC, with the Bills and with the Chiefs competing.
And the Ravens too. I still think the Ravens are one of the top teams too, and all the teams that got to the divisional round. I think those are all. If they get Watt, I'd put them in the top 4 with the Ravens, with the Bills, with the Chiefs. So I would put them in the top 4 in the AFC if they got Watt.
Oh yeah, and 100%. Because with their defense, and again, year 2 under Stefanski, again, I guess who knows what's going to happen Odell, I know the rumors are out there, but you add a guy like him back, you still have, they still have some weapons offensively. You had another really solid defensive guy. Yeah, they're right there to compete with anybody in the AFC.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to go on to Carson Wentz, and this story just continues. And we're hearing now that the Bears are look like the favorite to get. What do you say?
Oh, I heard this more. It sounds like the Colts are not up in their offer, so it sounds like they're saying put. So that sounds like the Bears are the only
So it looks like it's going to be the Bears who are going to probably end up trading for him, and that means Judge Trubisky's gone. That means Nick Foles is gone. The only issue with Carson Wentz going to the Bears is he's got a big cap hit. And are they going to be able to either franchise or sign Allen Robinson? I don't mind him going to the Bears if Allen Robinson gets franchised or signed. But the problem is, if say Robinson's gone, you look at this offensive line very shaky, not great at tight end. Running back David Montgomery played well at the end of the year, but he's been inconsistent throughout his career in Chicago. But I feel like he's on the way up. But if you get rid of Allen Robinson, who are your receivers? Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, Javon Wims. You saw Wims drop that touchdown pass in the playoff game. It's pretty much going to be, and with Matt Nagy as head coach, who worked with Doug Peterson in Kansas City when Andy Reid was the coach, this could be like Philadelphia all over again if they don't re-sign Allen Robinson. If they're going to go out and trade for Carson Wentz, I feel like it's got to be a priority for them and to clear cap space and get rid of some people. But I think it's got to be a priority for them to sign Allen Robinson too, because it makes no sense to trade for Carson Wentz and not re-sign Allen Robinson. So I think Indy was definitely a better fit no matter what. But if Chicago doesn't re-sign Allen Robinson, Chicago could be as bad of a fit as it was in Philly last year.
Totally. You saw that Bears offensive line was not very good at all. You saw the Eagles offensive line it was awful as well last year. You don't add Robinson back. I thought I saw something too that they have not spoken since September, like about kind of extending Robinson's contract. So
because there was rumors that he wanted out of there. I remember it was the week they played against the Giants. There were rumors that Robinson wanted out of Chicago. Yeah.
So right back. So I think at this point it's going to be pretty tough. He said he was open to returning to the Bears or Jaguars. How true is that statement? But you would think, the Bears would want him back. That's all they have. And you had a guy like Carson. Again, I know John, I was reading something too, John DeFilippo, who was the quarterback's coach.
DeFilippo,
yeah.
He was the quarterback's coach when they won the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, so him and Nagy, I saw something saying that they think they can kind of rebuild him and fix him. But it's tough when you don't have an offense. You don't really have much of an offense around them to rebuild them. It's so, if they get a Robinson again, if they hopefully draft a wide receiver. I know they don't have a first-round pick, and, that's why I'm because I know the Eagles want a first-round pick too for Wentz, but the Bears don't have one right now. The Raiders have it. But it'd be interesting. I thought the Colts would be a better fit for him as well than the Bears because they have more around them. They have a good offensive line. But with the Bears, they lose Rod. It definitely does feel like Philly all over again. I don't know what good you're doing to Carson Wentz, bringing him to Chicago.
No. I mean, I think maybe his head will be cleared a little bit. I think, I think not being a part of their Super Bowl run in 2017, I thought things were kind of messing with his head in Philadelphia. I think, him and Peterson were not on the same page. So maybe a change in scenery could help. But it's not. I still don't see the Bears as maybe winning more than 9 games if they sign Carson Wentz, and if they get rid of if Robinson isn't there and Wentz is there, I don't see them winning more than 8-9 games.
No, I'm with you there. I don't either. You got the Packers. Do you think the Vikings are going to be better than they were last year? Obviously, the Lions aren't going to be very good. Yeah, they probably finished third into the division. Yeah, I could see them finishing right around 500, or maybe even a game or two less. Yeah, I don't really see it from the Bears unless they draft or unless they're gonna go sign a Robinson or somebody else to go along with it. It could definitely be another long year for the Bears.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the Bears didn't have a terrible. They came on at the end of last year, but still, I mean, it's a year where they would be around probably 7 to 8 wins if they don't sign Allen Robinson, and I think that's the only way that this thing works. If Wentz gets traded to Chicago, but exactly. Yeah. What did you say, Justin?
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe their defense is steal a game or two, but that's about it.
Exactly.
I could see that.
Exactly. But we have some sad news in the NFL that came up on Monday, and it is the passing of Vincent Jackson. He passed away at 38 years old on Monday. He was, as we all know, he was one of the top receivers in football for a good part of time. He was with the Chargers from 2006 to 2011. Then was with the Bucs from 2012 to 2016. Unfortunately, he passed away on Monday, and the cause of death is not a really, really sad thing that happened to Vincent Jackson, and it's just so sad. It feels so bad for Vincent Jackson and his family, and we hope his family is hanging in there right now. But just a really sad. It was a really sad day in the NFL on Monday, losing Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, big surprise. When I heard the news about that, definitely had a really, really solid career. Over 9,000 yards, 57 touchdowns. I think 3 Pro Bowls he went to. I think he was nominated like 4 times for, Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Really, really good guy. Seems like too off the field. He was an owner of a restaurant. I think he's doing some charity work still, like with military families. Like again, he just seems like a really, really good guy. I liked watching him play when he was at the Chargers and Broncos or Buccaneers. Really sad news, and definitely condolences to his family.
Oh, without question. It's just so sad to see this happen to a guy that was, one of the best players in the NFL for one of the top players in the league for a good amount of years.
Yeah, he was. He definitely was. Yeah, it was definitely shocking to hear the news. Definitely one of the better players during his time at wide receiver. It was definitely very unfortunate. Wish he got a shot to get a Super Bowl or something, but he was definitely really, really solid player in his time.
Yeah, you wish you did. I mean, he was close a couple of times. I mean, with the Chargers there, his rookie year in 2009. And then after he left the Chargers, it was hard in Tampa Bay. I mean, it's not the way it is now with Tom Brady. I mean, back in the days when the Bucs had Josh Freeman, and then it was back in the days when the Bucs had, Mike Glennon, Joe's guy, Mike Glennon, Mike Glennon, and no, it's his rookie year he was there. I think the first couple of years of James he was there, and then Josh McCown. He was there that 1 year too with McCown. So yeah, it's hard to win when you have those kind of quarterbacks. But yeah, he was close a couple times with the Chargers.
Yeah, they 14-2 year. Yeah, they got that 2009 game when they played the Jets. I know they lost, but he had like 11 catches, 110 yards or something against Revis, and they couldn't. That was about they couldn't. Rest of the team couldn't help them out.
No. Nope, not at all. So just to recap, just sad day in the NFL on Monday, losing Vincent Jackson, and unfortunately at this point the cause of death has not been. There's no cause of death. There's no cause of death. Has not been. They've not figured that out yet. But just an unfortunate day in the NFL on Monday.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's too bad. It's for me. It's kind of weird seeing a guy. I do remember watching already pass on like this, but yeah, it was definitely sad news to hear about that Monday.
Yes. But we got to get on to the NBA, and there was a big injury Sunday night as AD had an Achilles injury, and he's going to be out till the All-Star break. But I think if you're the Lakers, it should be longer. I don't think you put AD on that court until he's 100%. Seeds do not matter, okay? Yes, the Clippers are a title contender, but in my opinion, the Clippers don't have Doc Rivers this year. I think that the Lakers are a better team than the Clippers. The Lakers are absolutely a better team than the Utah Jazz. And I do not want to hear that they're not, okay? If you look at the Jazz, their best player is Donovan Mitchell. If you're drafting 2 players when they're healthy, you are taking LeBron James and Anthony Davis over Donovan Mitchell every day of the week, okay? And if you look at the Jazz, yes, they have a great record. I get it. But who is their second best player? They got a lot of decent players. Rudy Gobert, Mike Connolly, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, and Jordan Clarkson, and coming up the bench. And Jordan Clarkson is the sixth man of the year. But they are not a better team than the Lakers. The Lakers can go into Utah and win both those games. And I think if they play them in a 7-game series, I don't think it goes more than 5 games. I think that the Lakers win that series convincingly. So if you're the Lakers, I think you're going to get back to the finals if you just play your cards right and sit Anthony Davis until he's 100%. I don't care what seed the Lakers get. I think the Lakers are the best team in the West, no matter what seed they are. So I think because if you go on the road and play the Clippers, it doesn't matter because that's your arena. And then I think they can beat the Jazz, who don't have a great second best player outside of Donovan Mitchell. So if you're the Lakers, you sit him until he is 100%.
Yeah, I think you do. And I think too with the depth that they have as well, you got a Kyle Kuzma this year. You got Montez Harrell. You got Marquise Morris. So, yeah, they have the depth where they could go some time and they should be okay without AD. Obviously, none of those guys are AD, but I think you still got LeBron. I think, for the Lakers, they definitely should just take his time with AD and just not rush him back so it's nothing more serious because, obviously we've seen Achilles injuries could be absolutely, devastating. I know KD's been great off his so far, but yeah, it could be a long road to recovery if it does get worse. I think for the Lakers, they should just rest him up until he's 100%, not rush him back. There's really no, I'm with you. There's really no point. They are the best team in the Western Conference. And again, you have LeBron in the playoffs. It really doesn't matter what seed he is. He's going to be able to, win some series. So yeah. Rest in peace, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at their schedule, before the All-Star break, obviously they got a tough game Thursday night, which we'll get to against Brooklyn. They got the game against the Heat on Saturday night. Yeah, it's a tough game, but I think they can handle the Heat with just LeBron James. You got the Wizards. You got Jace Garcia's, Utah Jazz on Wednesday next Wednesday, and he'll be bragging, even though they don't have AD, he'll be bragging if Utah wins that game, which it doesn't matter if they lose to Utah in that game. They got Portland on that Friday, Golden State, and then Phoenix and Sacramento. So the schedule is pretty tough. So they definitely, I think, might end up going 500. But the thing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if they go 500 because if AD's 100% and LeBron's 100%, the only team, in my opinion, that could beat them is the Nets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if the Clippers have enough depth to stop the Lakers. Again, I would love to see the Jazz get to the finals, but yeah, you need that second star player in the NBA nowadays to get to beat a Laker. You need that second superstar, and they don't have. They have a lot of really good players, but not a great one. But yeah, I would think at that point it's really the Nets are the only team that could beat them, and they should be fine no matter what seed they are heading into the Western Conference play or into the NBA playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it's really going to make a difference. And speaking of the Nets do play the Lakers in LA on us for Thursday night. And the thing about it is it would have been, a really great game if AD would have played. And the Nets have some guys out too. Kyrie and KD might not play that game as well. But look at the way the Nets are playing. And I think the best thing the Nets have done is they've moved James Harden to the point guard position because he's had, close to triple doubles in the 2 games he's played in the game against the Warriors. He was close to having a triple double. I think he might have had a triple double against the Kings. I'm not sure if he had a triple double or not against the Kings, but him playing the point guard and having Kyrie play the shooting guard makes all the difference for this team. I don't trust Kyrie playing point guard. Keep Kyrie off the ball. Let him do what he does best and score. Let James Harden orchestrate. Let him get the ball to Durant and Kyrie. And I feel like this offense is going to be unstoppable. And I think this team right now, they're definitely the best team in the East. I think you could argue that they're the best team in the NBA. Seeing what James Harden did last night, which was amazing. They were down 24 to the Suns without Kyrie or KD. They end up winning that game. So wait till when Kyrie and KD get healthy, and the way they're playing right now with with Harden at the point. I think they're going to roll, and I think they're going to win Thursday night if everyone's healthy against the Lakers.
Yeah, actually, I watched Monday when they played my Kings, where
they beat them pretty good.
Yeah, they hang in there with the first half, and then the 20-0 run.
Hang in there in the first half. A lot of NBA teams hang in there in the first half.
I guess.
And Kevin Durant didn't play either.
No, he didn't. Look, I'm okay with it. I'm not a big Luke Walton guy, so the more losses, the merrier for me, I guess, at this point. But and I wasn't really impressed with the way that James Harden was playing the point. And I think Kyrie said it. Like he much rather kind of be off the ball, and he feels like he's a better player off the ball, which I think he is. And James Harden kind of said it just less daunting on him too, that that he doesn't have to take 40 shots and he doesn't have to be the man anymore. And I think and they've kind of just embraced the roles. And look, so far I've kind of been wrong. I thought this was going to turn into like a soap opera, it's a comedy act, but so far they're really playing well. I was, again, I saw a little bit of the end of the first half last night, and I went to bed because again they were down.
That's what I did. I was watching the first half. I'm like, they're down 25. All right, they're all right. Game night where they don't have Durant, don't have Kyrie. All right, they're going to lose this game by 20 points. I'll go to bed. Then I wake up and see Nets won. Like what? Amazing. And Harden did have a triple double against your Kings.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was shocking. It shocked me that the Nets won that game. It was like. Yeah. It just shows you how. I mean, you could love or hate James Harden. It shows you how good James Harden is.
Yeah, it does. When he's on, he's on. Those nights he's hitting shots. He's impossible to stop, and that's Then you add him with a Kyrie, a KD, and again, like even like a guy like Joe Harris that could, he had 22 last night. He was 8 for 13. Like he's a guy that he can step up. He can shoot. So yeah, there's just so many options for that team. It's just, who do you want to guard? And then it's the other two guys who beat you, or even Joe Harris. It's just, they're just tough to stop. It was pretty wild. That, when I woke up and I saw that they actually won, I was stunned. But yeah, they're a fun. They're a fun team to watch when they're playing well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think the two teams playing Thursday night are the best teams in the NBA, best top two teams in the NBA. But the thing is we won't see all the best players, unfortunately. But I think for the game, I think that's obviously it's going to be a fun, exciting game. But I got the Nets winning close.
Yeah, I think the Nets. I think if AD was healthy, I'd probably lean more towards the Lakers. But yeah, without AD, I think it's going to be a tough time for the Nets. For the Lakers to try to slow these guys down. I'm gonna take the Nets away they're playing, but it should be interesting. The Lakers defense has been really, really good. Should be interesting to see how the Lakers defense does against Brooklyn on Thursday night. It should be a fun one, but yeah, I'll take the Nets.
Absolutely. It should be a good one. But we got to get to Andre Drummond, and the Cavaliers have decided to sit Andre Drummond until they're able to trade him. And there was some backlash there. I mean, Draymond Green was not happy about them sitting Andre Drummond. He said there's a double standard in the league because you tell back when James Harden wanted to get traded, he had to play in those games for the Rockets. But now that the team wants to trade somebody, they can just sit somebody. So he's like saying the player should just have the power to say if the player wants to play, just have him go out there and play. The team just can't force you to. The team just can't be. You can't be forced just to sit. The team can't. Just sit a guy because they want to sit somebody. The player should just want to play. So I think, yes, in a league where there's a lot of player power, I think there should be more power by the players. And I think Draymond Green's right with his comments.
I actually disagree with you. Now, the thing is, because I haven't seen it, Andre Drummond or Blake Griffin have not come out and said that they want to play, right? If they came out and said they want to play, they don't want to be benched, then fine. Then I agree with you and Draymond Green. But if they haven't, I disagree. If he wants to sit out too to get ready for another team, that's fine with me. If he really if Drummond and Blake Griffin really wanted to go out there and play, I think we'd be hearing their voices right now. I think we'd be hearing them complain about that. Again, I kind of think, it was a weird move for Drummond to go to Cleveland, that Detroit trade him there. I don't think he wants to be there. I think he wants to go play for contender, and I don't think he wants to risk getting injured and having to sit and watch the Cleveland Cavaliers for the next few months. So I disagree. I would definitely agree with you if they actually came out and said something and that, it's unfair that I want to go out there and play, but the owners or coaches don't want me to, won't let me, then I agree with you. But if he's just going to sit there and be quiet and it seems like he's in agreement with them, then I'm totally fine with it. Again, if you want, I'm actually okay with it. As long as he's not complaining about it, I kind of disagree. I understand,
I could tell how you're okay with it because this is the part you don't like about the NBA. The players have too much power. But, but it is a double standard, though. So, if the player wants out, he has to still play. But if the team doesn't want to play the player, they can just sit the player. I think that's wrong. I think the player should have a say, and if he wants to play, he should play. The team should not, force a player not to play. I think that I think a team shouldn't force a player not to play. I feel like that the Cavs should be letting Drummond play right now.
They should, but the only thing about the Harden one is like you can't act like that though. You can't come in a training camp overweight and just he wasn't giving even Harden said it the other day.
Justin,
he actually feels bad for what he did to Houston.
He does feel
the way he acts.
I know, but it's a players' league, dude. The NBA is a players' league. I will side with the players 100 times out of 100 in this league. Okay. Because players win championships. Organizations don't win championships. Players win championships in the NBA.
I know that. I do. But I understand it is a players' league. But as long as it doesn't seem like there's an issue, though, with Andre Drummond about not playing. If there was an issue with it, okay, I understand. If the player wants to, look, if James Harden didn't want to play, just sit out then. I think he probably could have, he wasn't even giving his full effort. The Rockets are a better team without him right now. They were playing well, better without him.
They were when they had Oladipo and Wood healthy. I'll give you that. But but they do miss him. I mean, if they had him, they would still be a playoff team.
Yeah. But I'm saying they're playing more together without him. It seems like they're more.
But what does that get you playing together without the guy? It gets you to lose 5 straight games. The Rockets are they're in 14th in the Western Conference.
But yeah, I know they've been, but the thing is, but I guess in the NBA it's tough. But I think without Wall and Cousins already said it. They're better. Again, you lose kind of that toxic guy in James Harden with the way he was acting on his way out the door. They're more involved.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you there. The Rockets do play better as a team, and with the Drummond situation, I agree with you where, he never said he didn't want to play, so I agree with the fact that you feel like, okay, the Cavs are doing the right thing sitting him.
Yeah, because it's if it's fine with both sides and Cavs want more, if the Cavs actually want to get rid of him, which they do, and they just want to get picks or just continue to rebuild, I'm fine as long as Drummond's fine with sitting out and saying, okay, that's cool with me. I'm good with it. Yeah, Drummond had the issue with it. I'd say, okay, you got to let Drummond play. Again, if there was a finalized deal about to go down in a few hours, then yeah, he'd have to sit out, to finalize the deal and whatever. But yeah, I understand. I do see where Draymond Green's coming from, but I think in this case, he shouldn't have said it unless Drummond actually had an issue with it. That's just me. I kind of just felt like he just wanted some FaceTime. He just wanted to bring something up. To me. That's kind of how I felt about it. But I do know where I see him coming from. But we just don't have the issue right now with Drummond. So that's why I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, I think we see both sides of the coin. I think I see your side where Drummond really doesn't have an issue, and you see my side where Draymond's going to speak out because he wants to defend the players.
Yeah, and again, which I get, and I'm fine with it most of the time. As long as it's something that's going to help the game and help the sport. You really can't complain about that. So yeah, as long as no issue, I completely agree. I'd be on the player side of it. I'd be on Draymond's side about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good topic of conversation. Definitely, it makes for good debate, and yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here. But for Andre Drummond, we got to look at what fits are the best fits for Andre Drummond, and I came up with 4 teams. The first one was the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, with them losing Serge Ibaka, they really need a big man inside. They got really good guard play with Van Fleet and Lowry. I mean, Siakam's a good 4, but they would be another big man would be good for them. I know it may not make them a championship contender, but I think if the Raptors did get Drummond, they would be a playoff team. Number 2, the Boston Celtics. Daniel Tice should not be playing the number 5 position in the NBA. I think if you put Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Andre Drummond together, that's a team that could potentially, because of that big man, that you could put them in that conversation. I don't know as good as the Nets, but I think they could be as good as the Bucks and the Sixers if they could acquire Andre Drummond. The Mavs, that's another team with Luka and Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis has trouble defending bigs. He's just, his defense is not great. He's a really good scorer, but he's not good defensively, and he really has trouble defending number 5s. So if you can get an Andre Drummond there, then Porzingis can move back to the 4. They'll probably end up trading Hardaway. But then, yeah, you could have, Doncic, Richardson, Finney Smith, Porzingis, and Drummond. Again, they would clearly be a playoff team and a team that could make some noise in the Western Conference playoffs. Not saying they'd be better than the Lakers or the Clippers, but they could make noise in the Western Conference if they got Andre Drummond. And my 4th team is the Clippers. And say they make this move, get another big man. You add him with Paul George. You add him with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I think that they could get over the hump and maybe beat the Lakers in the Western Conference. Who are your 4 teams, Justin?
I have an agreement, 3 out of your 4. Number 4 is probably going to surprise you, but I think you'll like that number 4 one. But number 1 for me is the Raptors. Yeah, they losing Serge has been a huge hole that they've had to, that they have not been able to fill this year. Him and Siakam in that front court. I know it's not a front court league anymore, but I think, the Toronto Raptors would be definitely a playoff team adding him into the mix. Number 2 with the Celtics, they need that 5 spot right now. They need a big guy. I think they're 15th in rebounding, middle of the pack. But I think you added a kind of big dominant guy, and they have the trade exception too from Gordon Hayward, so they can use that on him because I think Drummond's owed like $27 million or something like that. I think he can make a huge difference for the Celtics. He could be a mismatch nightmare for the Nets. They don't really, against DeAndre Jordan. He could be. Jordan's not what he was a few years ago. So I think, they probably not going to beat the Nets, but I think they could give them a series. They can, I think they could give them 6-7 games. So the Celtics are number 2. Number 3 for me are the LA Clippers. I know they don't have a ton of trade value to give up, but again, Drummond's a rental, so you won't have to, you don't have to give up 2-3 first rounders, which they don't have at the moment. You add another star player to go up against a LeBron and AD in the Western Conference. Again, probably close with the Lakers, but adding another guy there, I think would really help the Clippers out. A guy that can match AD size. And number 4 is I have the New York Knicks at number 4. He's a rental. Mitchell Robinson's out for with a wrist injury, probably for a month or so. They have $17 million in cap. If they really want to show the rest of the league that they want to compete and they're no laughingstock anymore, look, they're not going to be a title contender, but add him here. I know Julius Randle's been playing well for them, but him and Julius Randle been playing well, so I think the Knicks can kind of really show the league that they're not going to be the laughingstock anymore, and we're trying to change the narrative of our franchise if you go out and get this guy, and I think it changes the Knicks fan base is kind of showing, hey, we're going to try this year. Yeah, we may not be the Nets, but and again, maybe you try to, maybe you can re-sign Andre Drummond. He's from Connecticut. Maybe he wants to play close to home. You never know. So I have the Knicks out there. It's kind of more of a wild card.
And I really like that you brought up the Knicks because, if they go out and acquire an Andre Drummond, they went out and already got Derrick Rose. This will show people that the Knicks are a team that's going in the right direction with Leon Rose, with Tom Thibodeau. This is a team that is going in the right direction, and if they can make this trade, and the Knicks, maybe win in that play-in tournament, maybe win a game, advance, win the play-in tournament, and then get into the playoffs. That will show people there is growth in this franchise, and that could potentially draw free agents to the Knicks.
Yeah, totally. And and again, it should not be hard for the Knicks to get big free agents in New York. It really shouldn't. And I know it's been tough for the Knicks over the last years, but yeah, it definitely does change that narrative. But as you said, already adding Rose, Randall's been really, really good. I know he played really well against the Hawks Monday night. So yeah, you add a guy like this. Man, it definitely changes the whole narrative of the Knicks. It really shows that they're growing and they're trying to get to a title.
Absolutely, without question. So to wrap up the NBA, we got to talk about the COVID issue with the Spurs. As 4 players have tested positive on the Spurs for COVID-19, and their next 3 games have been postponed. The game tonight against the Cavs, the game at the Knicks on Saturday, and then the game on Monday against the Pacers. So it's still out there, COVID. There's still issues with what's going on with COVID. And the NBA is going to have a pretty backloaded second half schedule because of all these COVID issues with all these teams in the first half.
Yeah, they will. It's going to be interesting how they play. It's, again, I know the players, it's, I wonder, because I think it's been working. Again, I know the NHL's been hit, but it's been, NHL's doing a lot of back-to-backs, or even giving one night off, and you're playing the same opponent twice to reduce, travel and testing. To kind of reduce all that, and you're playing the same team twice in a row. Again, I don't know if it's possible for the NBA to do that in the second half, but it should be something to look into. It kind of keeps teams in the city for a second straight night.
They've been doing in the first half, playing teams in the same cities. They've been doing that in the first half.
The NBA?
Yeah, they've been doing it in the first half a good amount. They've had teams play in the same cities to prevent this. But still, it's unpreventable because of all the traveling. Yeah. And you can't have – when a Western Conference team plays an Eastern Conference team, you can't do that because they only play once a year.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's, I guess that's the tough part. I kind of liked what baseball did and the NHL did, kind of just did divisional and kind of reduced all the teams you played. I think the NBA, and I know the NBA wants these Lakers Nets games and all that, so I understand why the NBA wanted to do it. But I think it could have been somewhat safer, maybe. Again, it's tough, but yeah, it's still out there. It's still you're still gonna have to keep playing through it. And I know for the Spurs too, they've been playing well, so it's kind of tough where you're kind of in a rule right now. It's like, okay, you got to sit out, 2 weeks. So it's tough, but it is what it is. All 30 teams are probably going to have to deal with it at some point. You're not probably going to be affected by it. You're going to be affected by it at some point or another this year, and you just kind of got to go through it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, the backlog. And again, it could affect maybe playoff teams that have to fight to the final few days to get into the playoffs. Who knows what the schedule is going to look like? Because we're even seeing college teams at this point, smaller, where they're playing 3-4 games a week. That's rare for college guys. And again, it's probably going to have to happen in the NBA as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting because the second half schedule is going to come out, in a week or two. It's going to be interesting to see how they put that schedule together.
Yeah, it's gonna be, because I know because they kind of got rid of back-to-back as much as possible because I know the players didn't like it and with these rest days or whatever they call them, we could be probably seeing more of that. Teams have to play 3 or 4 times.
Oh, they're going to play a lot of back-to-backs in the second half, and they played a decent amount in the first half, but they're going to play a lot of back-to-backs in the second half.
And it's going to be interesting how again, and I know it is what it is this year, but are the players going to, be okay with that? Again, I think it could, for teams, could affect them for the playoffs. Who knows? But yeah, it'll be very interesting how they do it. But it's just all the travel. So you hope soon, but yeah, probably for the rest of the NBA slate, you're gonna have to just go through the battle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these teams going forward in the second half schedule. We should have that out by next week, but we got to wrap up the show, and we're going to talk about that. Talking about Gus Malzahn being hired at UCF, and I got a couple of questions for you, Justin. First one is, can they keep their consistent success with this hire?
I think they're going to be able to. I think this is such a great hire, I think, for both sides. UCF's one of the best group of 5 jobs out there. You're playing in Orlando, Florida. It's a great atmosphere. I believe, too, they have some great facilities on there. And for Gus Malzahn, he's not going to use them as a springboard. I don't think he's going to take another Power 5 job. He can just stay here until he's ready to kind of retire or whatever. So I think this is a great job for a great spot for him. Again, with his offense of mind, if he can develop a quarterback, UCF should be the top team in the American year in and year out.
Yeah, and that was actually going to lead me to my next question. Do you think they're going to be the best team year in, year out with him as the head coach, seeing the success Cincinnati had last year?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Maybe not next year with Luke Fickell and with everything Cincinnati's got coming back. Maybe tough not to win it, and then by the end of next season, I would think Luke Fickell's going to have a Power 5 job, so who knows what happens in Cincy. I think, UCF's going to be able to rule this conference. Like conference, you say it seems like every year they were in the title game. I think, consistently they should be a 9-10 win program. I think, he should recruit really well in the state of Florida. Again, I think they can pull some transfers as well that aren't playing at big time schools. So yeah, I think, year in, year out, they should be the best program in the American.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and you look at where UCF is, right in Orlando. They can get a lot of recruits. You can get a lot of recruits from Florida, down south. And if you can get those kind of recruits, it's very easy. You saw that. You saw Scott Frost do it. You saw Josh Heupel do it. It's very easy to compete in this conference when you could recruit really well.
Yeah, it is. And actually, I like to bring up Heupel and Frost. Actually, I wanted to go back to that for a sec. I think he's a better coach than Josh Heupel too. I think he is. Even Scott Frost right now. Again, he's inherits a dumpster fire, but
but look at him in Nebraska. He's not. This is his third year in Nebraska, and they haven't had a winning season yet.
No, I know it's been a dumpster fire, so I've been trying to give him some time, but it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So you could say, Gus Malzahn may be the best coach the last 3 guys that they've had there. So yeah, he should be able to win that American Conference year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, this guy let's not forget, this guy got to a national champion. He won the SEC in 2013 and was this close to winning the national championship when he was at Auburn.
Yeah, they were right there. And again, he's a guy too that's beaten Saban 3 times. There's not too many coaches out there that have beaten Saban 3 times. So, he's been close. I know. It just he's a good coach. I know the problem with the only issue I've seen with him is he just hasn't been able to develop the quarterback. And if he can do that, I think they're gonna be fine. Again, you can know he was gonna get fired at Auburn just because of the expectations there.
And Bo Nix wasn't as good as people thought he was going to be in his sophomore year.
Yeah, that too. He really did not take off like people expected, and there was a lot more. I think, again, year in, year out, Auburn fans and they think they're going to be Alabama, and that they want to be Alabama. And again, you win 6-7 games. They don't like that. And that's kind of been the issue. And again, because he's a solid coach, it just wasn't meant, it's tough to win in Auburn. It's tough to please people in Auburn. It really is.
Yeah, they have those high expectations. They won that national championship in 2010. They got there in 2013. They had that undefeated season in 2004. So Auburn always has high expectations. And when they have a 7-5 season in a tough SEC, that's disappointing.
It is, and I understand it. Again, the SEC to SEC West, your arch rivals Alabama with Nick Saban built there. It's tough, Again, there's a reason why not every team out here is Alabama. It really takes a special type of coach to do what he can and staff to be able to do what Bama's done and what Clemson's done. And again, it's not easy. And Auburn's usually never at the basement, but you know, again, some years it's third or fourth, and it's just not good enough. You know, they gotta, you know, the fans need to beat Bama. It's kind of, they need 10, 11 wins. They need to be in the playoff conversation every single year. It just, you know, they're gonna want you out.
Absolutely. So let's wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Jace Garcia, our producer, who did a great job. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about a Carson Wentz trade. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main event.